Before dawn, the lowest class of medieval society was already working: the serfs. Bound to the land, unable to leave, marry, or make major decisions without permission. In exchange for protection and a roof over their heads, they owed unpaid labor, taxes, and loyalty. Their world rarely stretched beyond the fields. Each week they worked their lord's land first, then their own. They were not slaves, but they were not free either. Still, faith, festivals, and family gave small breaks in a life defined by survival. Serfs were the foundation of the entire system. Without their labor, feudalism simply couldn't exist. Next were the free peasants. Same tools, same long days, same calloused hands, but one crucial difference: they had freedom. They could move, negotiate rent, or leave for better land. They paid in crops, livestock, or coins instead of forced labor. Some even became yeomen, successful farmers who owned their land and sometimes hired others to work for them. They lived modest lives but with dignity. Their independence hinted at the future, a shift from labor obligations toward a money-based economy. Above them stood the low clergy, local priests, monks, and nuns. They lived among ordinary people and shaped every part of medieval life, baptizing births, blessing marriages, hearing confessions, and burying the dead. Monks preserved knowledge by copying manuscripts, brewed ale, tended gardens, and kept literacy alive in a world where most people couldn't read. They held huge moral influence, though corruption existed too. In a time when heaven and hell felt close, the words of a priest mattered as much as any lord's command. Then came the rising force of the burghers, merchants, craftsmen, and guild masters in the growing medieval towns. They earned wealth not from land, but from trade. Cities like Florence, Bruges, and Lubeck buzzed with workshops, markets, and ships carrying goods across Europe. Guilds controlled prices, quality, and training. A smart merchant could become richer than a knight, proving that money, not birth, could shape power. They helped finance kings, armies, and entire wars. Their rise marked the beginning of the end for strict feudal hierarchy. Higher up were the knights, armored warriors on horseback, the medieval elite of warfare. Trained from childhood, they lived by the code of chivalry, at least in theory. In reality, war was brutal. Lances breaking, swords cutting through chainmail, mud soaked with blood. Knights served their lords in exchange for land, wealth, and status. But knighthood was expensive. Armor could cost as much as a village. So many knights owed their station to money, not honor. To peasants, they were protectors and oppressors. To kings, they were essential soldiers, as long as their loyalty was maintained. Above them were the high clergy, bishops and abbots. These were not humble parish priests. They controlled massive lands, collected tithes, and advised kings. Their cathedrals rose above cities like monuments of stone and authority. The church owned enormous wealth, held armies, and could declare wars holy. A bishop could crown a king or excommunicate him. For ordinary people, they offered salvation. For rulers, they offered legitimacy. Their power existed between heaven and earth, and they knew it. Next came the great nobles, dukes, counts, and barons. They ruled regions like miniature kingdoms, commanding armies of knights, collecting taxes, and holding courts. In theory, they served the king. In practice, many were powerful enough to challenge him. Medieval history is full of noble rebellions, civil wars, and forced charters, like the Magna Carta, created when kings pushed too far. A noble's loyalty could shape the entire fate of a realm. And at the top stood the king. In feudal theory, he was the source of all land, law, and loyalty. Ruling by divine right, crowned with oil that made him seem chosen by God. But royal power depended on strength. A skilled king like Philip II or Edward I could crush rivals, expand realms, and command loyalty. A weak king could be controlled by nobles or even deposed. The king was the symbol of the whole system, a single man at the peak of a chain of oaths, land grants, and military obligations. When a kingdom collapsed, people said the crown cracked first,